I was sitting around one day, and I got this phone call. And this guy goes, "Hey, Matt, this is Ted Muscarelli." I was like, "Hey, man, I know you. And I know this guy that works with you." He's like, "What do you think about selling some folk art for me?" And I'm like, "Dude, sounds like a plan." And so he sends me some pictures, and I'm like, "Look, I don't need to see anything else." Isn't that what I said? I was like, "Dude, you don't have to send me anything else. I see enough."
You can get him a collection of pottery, and he can blow it within 24 hours.
What does that mean? We hold records, man. We hold pottery records.
What about that?
What about what?
You swore me to secrecy, too.
Oh, so I got a call yesterday.
There you go now.
There's 90 pieces of signed pottery. 90 pieces. And I'm talking about Dan Siegel. I'm talking about N.H. Dixon. I'm talking about N. Fox. I'm talking about, they got it, right?
Cuss me out, not to.
And he calls me last night, and he goes, "What, did you get it?" And I said, "Listen, I'm not even going to talk about this because you're going to go run your mouth because I haven't got it yet."
Right.
That's the only reason I'm doing it now, running my mouth.
But I'm going to get it unless he runs his mouth to the wrong person, and it gets, because it's very local.
Before I leave, you must hear this. What will happen? She will contact the person you don't want contact and say, "Matt Ledbetter's going to sell my pottery." She'll play you.
And then I'll contact that guy and say, if you mess this deal up for me, I know a guy named Paulie. He has teardrop tattoos running down his face, and I will send him to your doorstep, my bro. So stay away. This is my deal. So we're back with the House of Folk Art. We're with auctioneer Ted Muscarelli from Taylorsville, North Carolina. And, man, in this business, you really do. The stories sometimes are unbelievable.
They're phenomenal.
You had some self-taught art.
Yeah, I've sold a lot of art through the years.
You. I mean, in that folk art collection that I took, which was primarily what we call old folk art. There was there was like the Annie Tolivers and somebody Butler.
Sam Butler.
And they did pretty good. Yeah. They did really, really good, actually. So we get the call, and he sends me some pictures, and I pretty much just stop it. I'm like, "You don't need to send me any more pictures. I'm sold. We're showing up. When do you want to do this?" And I think it was pretty much like within a week or so, we showed up, me and one other guy. And when I walked in, it was like, whoa. How long you been collecting all this? I mean, it was pretty intense. And how long was it?
I mean, really, there was some stuff in there from when I was young.
Wow.
But, I mean, 20 plus years, 25 plus years. Yeah. And then it initially, my wife and I got married. I said I was going to start collecting this stuff. Then we bought our house, and she gave me a front room of the house and told me to do whatever I wanted to with it, and she regretted that because you couldn't see out our windows in the front.
That's actually what you told me. You said my wife pulled me to the side and said, "Ted, you can't see out our front windows. This has got to go."
Yeah. But I initially, when I was buying the stuff a piece at a time, I always said when my girls got ready to go to college, that I would sell it.
Right.
And that was the way I got away with my wife just letting me keep on fill the room up.
Yeah, that's what's up. And that's the thing. I mean, as an auctioneer, you see the end result. Mm-hmm. I mean, we go into the houses where they're 85 to 93, and they're about to sell $100,000 worth of material, but they're 93.
Yeah.
And the money goes to their rest home bill, right?
It does.
And so when I saw that, because in 3 years I've seen that more than once, I did start saying, dude, when I'm 55, I'm 42 now. When I'm 55, I'm selling out. Yeah. I mean, I'm doing it when I'm young enough. Now, I'll probably die when I'm 52, but, because I'm talking about this, but I'm selling out when I'm young enough to enjoy it. And that's what some collectors don't do. They hold on to it too long.
They're scared to sell it. They don't want to sell it.
Yeah. But you, being an auctioneer, you saw how it ended when you keep it too long. And you sold it so early. I guarantee you've put pieces back in that room. Have you or haven't you?
Yeah,
I mean,
I've
like bought
already-
more
Oh, yeah.
since the 4 months that we took the items out. I bet you've put more pieces back in there.
About
Yeah.
another 15 baskets and some pottery, and
I want to see those baskets. You
Yeah.
have some killer baskets, man.
they're fun.
Dude, the baskets, the walking sticks, the carvings,
The quilts.
the quilts. The quilts were phenomenal. Let me tell you how good your quilts were. I haven't told anybody this, but I had quilts in the auction before your auction. I had like 40 quilts.
Yes.
I put your auction up when that auction still had 6 days left.
Yeah.
The people laid off of those quilts, and they were good quilts. They laid off of those quilts because they wanted your quilts. That's how good your quilts were. The quilts in the previous auction, they were good. They didn't bring anything near what they brought in your auction. And it's literally because the buyers were like, it'd be like, I don't even know the equation, but that's how good they were, dude. They were killer quilts. And you always, I found myself, the pictures look great.
Pictures look
The
fantastic.
pictures look like art. A picture of a quilt, if you're looking at an 8-inch picture, you could be looking at a painting. You could just as well be looking at a painting. That's how good the quilts looked online. So when we were packing them, I would pull the quilt, meaning, go wherever the quilt was, I had to get it to the
Right.
packing table. And I'd be looking at the quilt and I'd say, oh my God, I hope they like this quilt because the
Yeah.
picture looks amazing.
Yeah, it was
but then
graphic.
the quilt is like 73 inches. So you're like, it just doesn't visual the same. But I had people email or text me, call me and say, hey, I just got my quilt. Oh my God, I love it.
Fantastic.
I mean, so yeah, it was good. So what else was killer? The blanket chest, the painted blanket chest was nice. The guy that picked that up was not the buyer. He was going to hold it for him and then they were going to connect at some point. But he scrolled through his phone and showed me another blanket chest from the same group, painted, not identical, but with that yellow thin line.
Yeah.
He's like, oh yeah, this is a little group. They come out of this in South Carolina, blah, blah, blah. I was like, that's interesting. But I didn't know if it was a 1-in-1.
Yeah,
One of one.
That came out of a yard sale down in Charlotte. I love the yard sale.
Yeah.
I do. My kids and I, that's one thing. I asked them one time, what was your favorite thing about your childhood? They're 19 and 21 now. And they said, going yard selling on Saturday. It's one of their favorite things, which is cool.
No,
which
that's
is
what's
cool.
up. And as parents as a parent myself of kids that are in this industry, we're in this industry. We have a unique way to show them how to make money.
Mm-hmm.
They don't teach them
Absolutely.
that. They don't teach them that in school.
My kids had antique mall spots when they were 6 and 7 years old. And I gave them enough money to start and we filled the booth. And then they would every month, all through high school, all through elementary school, they'd always make an extra $100 a piece or two. And that was a lot of money, but it taught them, it taught them about money, responsibility, and they liked it.
Yeah, we're in a great position for that, and that's what the guy, my dad right here. I would go picking with him. We didn't really do yard selling, but he'd let me go picking with him because that's what he did for a living. On Monday, he woke up, knocked on doors till Thursday, sold it at Mebane Auction on Friday, and then repeat on Monday. And during the summer, when I was 8, 9, 10, he'd let me ride with him. He'd send me to the door, and he'd say, just step back and point to me, and I'll handle it, after you tell them what we're doing. But it's a very unique. But I totally screwed my kids up a couple years ago because I guess 3 years ago now, it was one of the third or fourth pickups I had. We had done packed, 150 pieces of pottery down in the basement. And we're leaving, and there's 14 boxes in the garage on the way out. And the guy goes, do you want this pottery? And we've done packed up 150 killer face jugs, this and that, Charles List, whatever.
Right.
So I'm kind of burnt out. I'm like, what is it? He goes, oh, it's just studio pottery, North Carolina studio pottery, which ain't nothing. It sells in box lots.
Yeah.
$1, $5. So I'm like, no, I don't want that. It's going to be too difficult to ship, this and that. But I look at my two kids. I go, I don't know. Do y'all want to do it? I said, how much you want for it? He's like, just give me $200 for all the boxes. Do you guys want to, when we get home, you're going to give me the $200. This is yours. I'll list it for you. I'll charge you 15%. I mean, that's the family rate.
Yeah.
You know? 15%. Dude, that shit brought like $1,800. I'm not kidding.
Yeah.
I figured it would literally be like $300 or $400 worth of stuff, but it brought $1,800. They're ruined after that.
Yeah.
I mean, you go to a yard sale and you get a Dave Drake poem jar, you're going to ruin a kid. They're never going to work in the corporate sector.
No.
Ever.
And with the stuff that I had, it wasn't all high dollar stuff. I bought what I liked.
Right. Yeah.
And I bought what I felt like, whether I paid $1 for it or $1,000 for it. I bought what I liked, and the prices in the sale, the stuff that I paid $1 for, I thought, well, I'll just do, it'll do whatever. And had that one carving, did $500.
The squirrel?
The squirrel.
I couldn't believe the squirrel.
No, it was the mice and the cheese.
Yeah, the mice and the cheese.
Brought $500, and that's the beautiful thing about folk art, and that's why I like to buy it, because you can't put a price on it. You really, with the old folk art, it's what you like. It's not the fact that I can go and look it up and say, hey, this brought this much. No, I can't look up a little mice eating cheese carving that was 4 inches long, but there was 2 people out there who they were going to have it. That's the beauty of the old folk art to me. Yeah,
exactly. And here's the deal with me. I don't know my animals because I was picturing the piece.
Yeah.
I knew it was I knew it was a mice eating the cheese, but when I pictured it, I saw a squirrel eating the cheese.
Yeah.
And I do that a lot. I'll type out squirrel eating cheese, and people will dial into me like through the computer or text me, hey, I think that's a mouse. I don't think that's a squirrel. So I'll be like, that's crap. Funny. I think you're right. I do that all the time. It's funny.
Yeah.
But so that is something to touch on. In a collection, there are items that people pay high dollar for. Maybe they're scoping them out for weeks and weeks, maybe years. They know where this, one basket is in a collection, and they've offered the guy $500. Then they see him again a year later. I'm gonna pay $800. They end up getting the basket for $1,200. So they've got a collection of 50 baskets. Some you pay $1 for at a yard sale. Some you pay $1,200 for. And what happens when the collection goes to the auction? The basket you pay $1,200 for brings $600, but those 10 baskets that you paid $1, $3, $5, $8, those 10 baskets that you have roughly $100 in, they bring $400 a piece out of nowhere, and you're like, and that's how And
that's the beauty of it, Matt. And I told you when I told my staff and I told different ones that I was going to be selling everything I had, I would not let anybody buy anything.
Yeah.
There's nobody out there who was able to buy anything out from that auction. I mean, I told Matt that from the start.
Yep.
That it's not going to be cherry picked. It's not going to be this piece, and this piece. So, and I put it all in the sale, and it was the right thing to do.
The only thing I think got cherry picked were the miniature 3-inch baskets.
The miniature.
Yeah, I'm just messing.
Oh, I thought you were being funny. I was like,
no, I was. I am being funny. No, but it was because what would have happened is, and that's why things like this need to go to auction. You could put a price tag. Let's talk about the mouse and the cheese. You could have put if you got that for $2 or $3. Where'd you get that at, by the way?
I bought that at a yard sale.
It had to be
$3 or something.
Okay,
yeah. In Hickory.
So you pay $3 for it. So you'll mark it $40. I mean that's like 10 times the money or more, and it goes out of there for $40. But little did you know, if you would have just let it go to auction, I think it hammered out at like
$500, $550,
$600. I mean, it was crazy. And listen,
and there were several pieces in the sale that brought crazy money.
Yeah, I mean, I could have never told you had a $2,500 quilt. I mean, I wouldn't have been able to pick it out. Yeah, I probably could have picked out the best 6. Maybe I could have picked out the best 10. But no way would we have been able to say that's a 2,000. I mean, it takes a lot for a American country quilt Now, if they're African American quilts and they're G's bend,
Yeah.
they can get into the 5,000-10,000 pretty quick. But it takes a lot for just a American country quilt, 19th century quilt. It takes a lot for a quilt to be a $2,000 quilt.
In today's day and time, too.
I don't think people understand how many quilts are out there.
Yeah.
And you got to think how many people got cold in the South. They all had to have quilts. And how many quilts did they have to have? Well, if they had a house of 6 people, they better have six quilts. They better really have more than that. So then you start doing a population count in 1890, North Carolina, whatever that is, you can times that by 10, and that might be how many quilts were produced that year. It doesn't matter. It's not going to affect the value because they're all different. They're all this and that. But when you talk about folk art and you talk about, okay, if you want to make folk art, you can carve a stick, you can carve a walking stick, you can carve a little block, you can do a painting, you can make pottery, or you can make a quilt. Mm-hmm. I mean, the quilt by far has the most time and effort and work in it. I mean, and I see quilts bring $50.
Yep.
That quilt, I actually don't know how long it takes to make a quilt. How long does it take?
A long time.
I know it takes
a long time.
Does it take a month? Is it like 8 hours a day? I mean, they used to have quilting parties.
Yeah.
Like women would get together by the tens, and they would all help on quilts and get to knock one out.
And it's neat. I'll tell you a quick story. About 15 years ago, I went to the flea market right near my house, a little junk flea market. And I walk up, and there's a friendship quilt with all names all over it. I buy the quilt. I paid $40 for the quilt. And I brought it home, and I was showing my wife. I was like, look at this great quilt. And she looked at it, and on 3 of the blocks was her grandmom's name.
Oh, my gosh.
So that quilt's hanging up in my house right now. But that's the hunt right there.
So what you're saying is you have a room that I didn't go into.
No, that was the quilt that was hanging hanging on that one room. But yes, I do have a couple rooms.
Yeah, there you go. Into. Man, that's cool.
Yeah, so it's fun, man. The whole business is fun.
So what got you gravitating to what we call old folk art?
It was a frog. A frog.
A frog.
It was a tiger maple frog that was dated 1876 on the bottom. And I was at a sale, and it had little beads in its eyes. It was Native American. And I just decided I was going to buy it. And I paid $125 for it. And from then on, I was just drawn to it. I was drawn to the folk art. I was drawn to the workmanship. Western North Carolina, I can just see all these animals and all these carvings, and that's what people are doing to make money.
Right.
I mean, you go and look, and I just think the history and the stuff is fantastic.
Yeah.
It's absolutely fantastic.
It's definitely something it's collecting folk art and falling in love with it. It's not out here. It's not surface. It's deep inside. I mean, I can't tell you how many times friends come over to my house, and in fact, my cousin, he came over to my house. I hadn't seen. He's in the military now. He's 28, something like that. I hadn't seen him in a while, and he walked in. He's been to our house before, and I said, "All right, DJ, I'm gonna take you in the folk art room. I'm gonna let you ask 3 questions." You pick out 3 pieces, I'll tell you all about it. And so we're walking around. And so I could do that to him because he's my family. Yeah. Like, he gets it. He knows we're in the antique business. But if one of my friends just come in, I mean, they overlook. They don't see the surface.
No.
They don't know what surface is. Surface, forgive my poeticness here. Surface is not surface. Surface is so deep inside your soul to be able to look at it and appreciate what they call surface on an object.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, and if you don't know what surface is, we'll have to do a little skit on some pieces, but surface is when a piece of wood was picked out back in 1920. It was carved into a snake, and then they put paint on it from 1920. And from 1920 to 2024, that paint oxidizes, it gets hot, it gets cold, it goes out in the heat, it goes in the shade, it gets worn down from the grip of whoever carries the stick, and then one day he dies and it gets placed on the mantle. And fast forward 104 years later, the cracked look, the little bit of chippy look down the paint, that's surface. And man, when the surface bug bites you, if you're screwed, you're gonna chase it for the rest of your life.
As I was just getting ready to say, you're always gonna chase it. My wife always says, people in that business are weird. He said,
Dude, I would pass
crazy.
Listen, I would pass up sex for the right surface. I mean, I'm lying, but
Yeah,
I'm lying. But that's how good it is. It drives me crazy to think. See, I want to go picking so bad because the feeling of getting into a good house and you see so much junk. Even this table. This table has no surface. This table is from 1840. It's been slicked up. It's been sanded. They took all the surface and patina off, and it got stained again because Miss Nilly didn't want, chippy paint or whatever the hell was on it before. And when you really get into a good collection that's got surface, I mean, you just want to. There's no feeling like it. When you collect, that is a feeling that you just can't describe. And if you know what we're talking about, you need to comment on this and agree, because I know there's some of y'all out there that think we're crazy. Anybody from my gym listening to me, any of my buddies that I drink beer with that don't do the folk art thing, they're not going to get it. But, dude.
It's all about the paint.
It is a
I learned that
thing.
early on. It's all about the paint.
Well, American paint, yeah. And that's another step. I mean, if this table right here in 1840, the next day after he made this, if he would have painted this a creamy yellow color and put black polka dot, black circles, and then did a rose right here, this would be $100,000 table. I mean, that's the change of what paint can do. Original surface, original paint can escalate a piece of furniture, because there's no reason. This is a well-made piece of furniture, but the fucker didn't put paint on it.
Yep.
Beep that out. But the guy didn't put paint on it. Why didn't he paint it? You ever heard the word brown is down?
Oh, yeah. Brown is down.
Dude, I tell you what, brown is not down in Gibsonville. I love me some brown furniture. I just went into a house yesterday that had a sugar chest. Now, the problem is, I don't know. I didn't inspect it. It could be bench made. It could have been made in the 70s by a high-end cabinet maker. I don't know, but it looked good to me. And I love brown. Corner cupboards don't bring. God, your corner cupboard didn't. You're not mad about that, are you?
I ain't mad about nothing.
I don't think it. What did it bring? Like 400? The guy that bought it was tickled. He showed up in a pickup truck. He was like, "I'm glad it ain't raining." I'm like, "Me too, dude. I'll help you get it on there." It was funny. Well, so overall, what did you think when we were there for 5 hours or so? Mm-hmm. Took about 5 hours to pack it up. It was a van and a trailer full, a big 16-foot trailer. When we left and you walked in that room and it was empty, what'd you think?
I felt like everybody just left me, and I was there by myself. All my friends were gone. But I feel good now about it. I feel I felt good that it was going, and I knew it was going to pay, help pay both my daughters' tuition. I knew it was time to go. There was a lot of old friends in there that left me, but I went right back out, and I think I bought 2 baskets or something that next day just to put in the house. You know what I'm saying? Say, okay, let's do this again.
That's the thing. I mean, it's never over, man.
No.
Once you got the knowledge inside your head to know what's, and it ain't about money, so to speak. You got to know a little bit of that, but to know what a good basket is. Yeah. Because a lot of baskets to people, and it's the same thing with walking sticks. Most walking sticks are $300
Yeah.
anywhere. I mean, the best walking stick at Liberty is always priced $350. But I mean, there's some daggone walking sticks out there that are like 10 grand and up.
There's a difference. There's a difference between good, better, and best.
That's right. And if you know that difference, the hunt is so exciting. You never know when you're going to find that best.
You can go, and I can go, and we can go out tomorrow, and we can buy the best walking stick out there for $10,000. Or you can go and you can pull a walking stick out of an attic, a basement, or a garage for $15.
Right. And it could be just as good.
And finding that $15 walking stick,
yeah,
is
it holds
all
more.
of it, man.
Yeah,
it's all of it.
It's the better feeling. Sometimes it's the better feeling.
Yeah, anybody out there can go out and buy
if it's out there in a gallery.
Whatever.
Yeah. If it's already listed.
But to pull it out and save it,
the hunt.
You just saved a piece of history.
The
right
hunt.
there. Yeah.
In the bush.
Yes.
We used to call it. That came out of the bush right there, buddy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Have I told the story about the ovoid piece of pottery that got thrown away in the woods? See, I didn't unscrew the story. So I'm picking in South Carolina, and I used to always go to the door and I'd ask for pottery. This is when I was like 20, 21 years old. And my dad would be like, quit asking for pottery. You can't live off that, blah, 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 right? Because you want to ask for milk bottles. I'll buy everybody's got an old milk bottle. But I would just straight up ask for pottery. And so I do this. It starts small at the bottom. It bubbles out. It's got 2 handles. She goes, I got one down in the basement. And I'm in South Carolina. So I'm like, oh, this is a Dave.
Right.
It's got to be a Dave. So we go down. I meet her around back. We go down to the basement. It's a wash pot. It starts small at the bottom. It bubbles out, and it's got 2 handles. Then I go, ma'am, that's a wash pot. But close. What I'm talking about is pottery, dirt, clay. It's made from the ground. She goes, oh, well, I got one of those I used to use as a trash can. I just threw it out in the woods.
Oh.
And I said, please point. She pointed. Sure enough, I walked 25 feet out in the woods, and there's a piece of edge-filled pottery turned up on its side with a little bit of trash spilled out. I bought it for like $20, and I got that piece today. I just talked my wife into putting a pie safe on the porch, and that piece is sitting on top.
That's cool.
And it's an outdoor piece. It's not it's not a great thing, but the story of just how that was found and the rescue of that.
Yeah.
And I always said this, when you're riding in South Carolina, if you want to find a Dave, look up. And this is why. Imagine, I don't really, and actually I might be wrong. If you're a what do you call it when you know everything about trees?
Horticulturalist?
If you're a horticulturalist, you can correct me on this. Comment below. But how does a tree grow? So if I'm a 6-foot tree and my limb is down here, does my limb grow up? So the limb will always stay at if there's a limb at a 5-foot mark on the tree, 20 years from now, will the limb be taller or what?
It'd go up.
The limb will go up. Are we saying that? So if I'm 10 years old and I go to this tree, a young tree, and the limb is at 5 foot, it's a limb, a strong limb. If I go back 30 years later, that same limb, is it going to be in the sky now? They do grow up?
They do.
They do grow up?
I'm going to tell you why. Because I was 18 years old, I had a party at my mom and dad's house. And there are still bottles in the tree at the house where my mom and dad were. They're way up, all the way up high in the tree.
So this is my point. Right. Yeah. This is my point. I know what I'm talking. What camera's on me? I know what I'm talking about. This is in my DNA. If you're looking for a Dave Drake, look up, because one day in 1854, one sunny day, Miss Millie went outside. She was carrying the water, the boiling water, or whatever she had in the pot. She dumped it out. The meat, she washed it out. She needed it to dry, so she stuck it on the limb. Miss Millie went back inside. Something happened. She never went back to that tree, never got that pot. And 100 years later, it's 60 foot in the air. How many Daves, how much Edgefield pottery is 60 foot in the air right now in South Carolina? Drop the mic. I'm serious, bro. Yeah. I got that thought when I was in like my early 20s. But then I always thought, I don't really know how trees grow, so maybe it's not. But your story has confirmed that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, if you're a horticulturalist out there and you disagree with us, leave us a note.
That was a good deal.
I truly think that Ted brought a lot to our podcast today.
I don't know. I appreciate you having me here.
No,
very
it was
much.
good. I think it was genuine. It was real. Do you want to give him a little more bid calling?
We can.
Are you feeling up to it?
I'm up to it. Always up to it.
Do you want to start it out this time?
You go ahead.
Well, now, who the bit about the 35, the 45, the 50, 55, 50, 55, negative 60, negative 65, negative 70.
Now 75, 75 now, 85, 95, bucko, 5 and roll, $100 in now, 100 now, 10 now, 20 now, 30.
135, negative 45, 50, 55, negative 55, 55, 55, negative 60, 70, negative 80, $180 pig, negative 89, 90, $200 pig, negative 2, negative 2, negative 2.
2 now, quarter now, half now, 75, 275 now, 300 now, 3 and a quarter, 3 and a quarter, 3 and a half, 400 in the back, thank you. Now 5, can I get a 5?
You win. 5, big, 5. All right, that's good. All right.
Oh, I hope that was all right.